Hi guys, this is Klazart doing another audio commentary, and this time I'm commentating on the MSL Round of 32 Group H Game 1 matchup, and it is going to feature Savior against Canata. Savior obviously from CJ and Canata from SK Team 1 is going to be played on Heartbreak Ridge, and if you guys haven't seen Bisu versus Hwasun or Bisu versus Jaedong on, Bisu versus NC Yellow or Bisu versus Jaedong on Heartbreak Ridge, I recommend you guys watch those games before watching this commentary, because the results and events of those games will be spoiled for you. You have been warned. Probably a good idea to watch Bisu versus Hwasun as well. But yeah, Heartbreak Ridge, it's produced some interesting games from us, and what Bisu versus NC Yellow proved to me was that popularity and prominence might fade, but skill is forever, and NC Yellow showed us that he's got the skills, and in a huge upset victory over Bisu, and really, what a great StarCraft player NC Yellow is, and if you guys haven't seen some of his older games, you should definitely check them out. He was amazing way back when, and he's shown us that he can still perform even though Bisu had scouted his build, although you could probably argue that Bisu did make a bit of a mistake. Anyway, this is now, and I'm hoping that Savior can continue to espouse that mantra that I just recited for NC Yellow, and can pull out the victory here against Canata. Canata, obviously one of the old school SK Team 1 Terrans, won a Star League quite famously, I believe in his first season, was talked about as being the next big thing, but it never really materialized. It kind of faded away after that. We've got Canata at the 9 o'clock base and Savior at the 3 o'clock base in orange, Canata in teal, and I'm looking forward to this game of StarCraft. I'm not 100% sure that I'm really fond of the new build, the new structure of the MSL Round of 32. It used to be that even if you lost your first game, you would still have a loser's match and then a loser's final, and 2 players would go through from each group. But this season, in the Round of 32, it seems to be that losing one game is all it takes to knock you out. It looks like Savior going for a 12 hatchery build here, and I think it's a good build on this map for a Zerg player. But yeah, now if you just lose one game, you're out, and really, I'm not sure that that's fair, and you might argue that, well, life's not fair, but this is StarCraft, and what we really want to see is we want to see the best players progressing, and a best of one isn't really a judge of skill or talent or who is the best player. You could have a bad scout, you could have a bad, unfair map, there could be a million reasons why you could get knocked out. Now, some of you guys might think it's just a Savior fanboy crying in advance in case Savior does go out. That's not the case. I do recognize the other side of the argument, that this format does give lesser known players a chance to shine and progress through in the to the latter stages of the MSL, but really, who do you want to see in the round of 16? Do you want to see Savior versus Flash, or do you want to see Canata versus Bakho? I know which players I would see any day of the week. It looks like Canata now sending his SCV out to scout, starting up his command center, so going for a fast expansion, and again expected from the Terran player, but especially since, and he doesn't know that Savior, he hasn't scouted yet, but he has guessed that Savior would probably have gone for a 12 hash, and then he's fairly safe in putting that command center down to start with. Obviously, if Savior had gone for a 9 pool, Canata might have been potentially in a little bit of trouble. Canata with his first renout as well, and his scouting SCV should just about be arriving at Savior's natural expo to confirm what he already knows, and Savior bringing his drone out, trying to stop Canata from getting in there, not able to do so, not able to lay that SCV, but he is doing a little bit of damage, and Savior's first few links pop out, and he's going to try and take that SCV down. The SCV almost gets taken down, Canata just managed to save it, and the one thing that really worries me from Savior's point of view is that he hasn't played any Pro League games. He is scheduled to play a Pro League game, actually he's played one today at the time of this recording. As I record this commentary on the 23rd, he's actually played a game today, I believe, against Anytime, and I will be commentating on that later on when I get a chance to. I haven't seen it yet, and I haven't seen this game either, obviously, before commenting it. But this looks like a more old-school type of Zerg versus Terran. We're probably going to see a bio build from Canata. We're seeing the Academy go up already. We're seeing Lair go up for Savior. We're seeing what Savior used to do in the old days, which was almost kind of his typical 3-hatchery build, where he would defend with a handful of Zerglings in the middle of the map, delay his opponent while he got that Spire up, and then use Mutalisk to delay his opponent while he cemented his economic advantage. Canata would be used to playing against that sort of build, so this is what we would call one of the old school standard Zerg versus Terran style gameplay, and Savior indeed starting up that Spire, and now starting up his second expansion, taking his third gas. Canada's got a group of Marines out. We can see the expect his medics to pop out soon, and really this game is going to come down to whether Savior is going to be able to hold that kind of middle area and delay Canata long enough and not take too much damage. And if Savior can do that and his Mutalisk pop out, you can expect him to pull ahead in the game. However, if Canata can force a cancel on the expansion or take that expansion expansion down, then Canata will be the one who will be with the advantage. Savior really needs to put a little bit more pressure on Canata, even with those Zerglings, just to keep him at bay, keep him in his base. And Savior already with that third guess out. Canata still not pushing out. He's got his second racks up and running, and he seems to be content to sit there. And I'm not sure that that's really a great place for him to be now. Canata, on the other hand, in contrast to Savior, has been featuring regularly, fairly regularly for SK Team 1 in their Pro League lineup, even though they've got a huge Terran star in Fantasy, who obviously would be preferred over Canata, but their lineup is such right now that he does seem to play. Now Canata is ready to push out. He's got a couple of Firebats to hold his ramp. He's got a group of Medic and Marines and Zerglings heading towards that 1 o'clock expansion where he expects Savior's base to be, and obviously his hope is to get in there, and the engineering bay going up as well. So Canata knowing exactly what Savior is doing, he knows that Savior's going for that 3 actually building, he's expecting it. Savior now coming with the 4 Zerglings, trying to run by, he's trying to sneak his Zergling by, he's not able to get through. He's putting a creep Sunken up in his National Expo. Savior in a bit of trouble here because Canata's coming in with that Medic and Marine rule. Savior doesn't even have the one Sunken up, and he sacrifices first 4 Zerglings, and that Sunken is going to get taken down, and Savior's going to be in huge trouble now. He's going to be behind, guys. He's going to be behind. Savior waiting for the Mutalisk to pop, and Savior not putting any pressure on those Medic and Marines, and Savior is going to lose his National Expo. Mutalisk popping for Savior. I really don't see how he can save it. Mutalisk taking a huge amount of damage, and he's now trying to come around. Firebat, meanwhile, in Savior's base. That should probably get taken out by the drone. Savior not defending. Savior's lost his National Expo. Savior is hugely behind, and Savior is probably going to get knocked out in disappointing fashion from this MSL. Savior is going to get knocked out, I feel, here, guys. He's going to be able to take that Medic and Marine group out, but he just did not delay. He needed to use those 4 Zerglings, even just to delay that Medic and Marine group for a couple of seconds. In the past, we've seen Savior time it perfectly, but he's just, even though he's taken that Medic and Marine group out, Canata is now ahead, 2 bases to Savior's 2. A couple of Firebats now pushing up for Canata as well. Savior coming in with a Mutalisk group, but Canata's got his turrets up in defense, and Savior needs to inflict some serious economic damage. And Canata, anticipating what Savior's doing, sending the Mutalisk out, sending the couple of Firebats in very cleverly, just to force Savior to use those Mutalisks to take them out. And you've got to give all credit to Canata for the way that his timing has been perfect. Savior's hasn't. Savior managed to pick off one of the Firebats. He's got the Mutalisks out. He's going to try and build that second hatchery up again, but really losing his Natural Expo is just as bad as losing that second hatchery. And when a Zerg player does that versus a Terran, it's pretty hard, downright nearly impossible for a Zerg player to recover. And Savior's Mutalisks arriving only to find a well-emplaced anti-air in terms of turrets from Canata, and Savior just circling around, probing, trying to find some sort of opening where he can inflict a little bit of damage. He needs to inflict some damage. Picks off the 3 SCVs mining gas. I don't think that's going to bother Canata too much because he's just going to pull another couple SCVs off the line. He's rebuilt his Medic and Marine group, and Savior is just in a world of hurt and a world of trouble right now. Now Savior at Canata's Natural Expo, firing a volley and hurting one of the turrets, but really he needs to be doing a lot more damage now. His situation is desperate. Now putting up the Hydralisk Den, and he's going to find himself overrun by the mid-game Terran push pretty soon because he did lose that expansion. He's now got his Natural Expo up and running again. He will have the 3 gas, but really that he still hasn't. It's still not complete, but it should be soon. But the disadvantage of losing that expansion, I just don't think Savior can recover from it. And now all Canata has to do is sit back, build up, and then push out and roll the Zerg. And that's exactly what he's going to do. He's played the perfect game so far against Savior's build. He knew exactly what Savior's going for. He anticipated it, counted on it, and countered it perfectly. Savior managed to pick off one of the turrets at Canata's main. Savior trying to put some pressure on Canata, now picking off a couple of Marines as well. Actually, I don't think he even got a kill on the Marine. Those Marines getting healed by the medics, only picking off one turret. And Savior continued to pump out those Mutalisks, realizing that the only hope he has in this game is to try and keep Canata back. But Canata's just going to wait until he's built up a decent-sized Medic and Marine force, until he's got his siege tanks up, and then he's just going to make his big push. Looks like he's now ready to send out a group of Medic and Marines out into the field. He manages to snipe an Overlord as well. Savior unable to save that. Savior trying to find a position to attack those Marines from a ridge, but Canata positioning those Marines excellently within range of the turrets. Now Savior's got a couple of Hydralisks out. Obviously he's going to try and get some lurker defense going just to delay that Medic and Marine group, to force Canata to wait till the siege tanks come out before he can put any pressure on. But Savior's really going to have to play out of his skin here, guys, to affect any sort of victory. Canata anticipating the Mutalisk harass. Savior's got those Hydralisks out, still not morphing to lurkers yet. He needs to have those lurkers up and running by the time that those 2 full group of Medic and Marines arrive. Otherwise he's going to lose another expansion and going to be pretty much lose any hope he has. Canata's already got that factory with machine shop up. He's got his science facility building. Savior's sniping a couple of Marines again. He's doing a good job now of delaying Canata, and he should have those lurkers up in time to defend against this push from Canata with those 2 Medic and Marine groups. But Canata is probably just going to pull out. Canata with the scan is going to see those lurkers at Savior's Natural Expo. He's still continuing to push forward towards them. And to be honest, Canata will be happy enough just forcing Xavier to burrow those lurkers in his natural expo, because that means that Xavier's not going to be able to. Normally, a Zerg player needs to have those lurkers outside of Terran's base to delay that tank push for as long as possible to buy himself the time to get those defilers out. Xavier's not going to be able to do that because of the position that he found himself in. Now Xavier's got his lurkers burrowed. Canata does have the 2 full group of American Marines. He's now getting the starport up. He's getting the control tower as well. And Canata's just happy to sit there and keep Xavier locked in his base while he waits for Seashine support. Canata pushing a little bit too forward, losing about 5 or 6 Marines in the process. Is not going to bother him too much, but slight risky. And Xavier obviously going straight for the tech, realizing he needs those defilers before that siege tank gets there. Otherwise, it's toast for Xavier. And he's trying to find some angle to probe at Canata's, but I just fear that Heartbreak Ridge is a very unforgiving map. A single mistake usually results in defeat. Canata now circling around towards that 1 o'clock expansion. Xavier does have lurkers in play there. Canata's not going to be able to find any purchase, but again, he just doesn't need to. He's going to have to be. I suppose he'll just wait for another group of American Marines to escort his tank. I thought he might have to pull some back to escort his tank up. But Xavier really needs to try and push out with those lurkers.